This one was a long time coming, but we had to include one of our favorite places in the world, the magical Emerald Isle, Ireland. In fact, one of the reasons it took us so long to get you this one is this episode combines 2 trips, twice the Guinness, twice the castles, twice the up, twice the away. So join us as we explore old abbeys, pubs, and geological wonders on and off the windy roads of old Ireland.
And beer. Did I mention beer?
You didn't, but I think we all assumed.
What about whiskey?
That too.
Good. I'm glad I'm so predictable. We started our journey the way every good trip to Ireland should begin, a pub crawl. But not just any pub crawl, a literary pub crawl. Guided by local actors who imparted a wealth of Dublin history with a generous helping of drama.
It's not a season. It looks to me more like a bush. Shrub? Bush? What are you insinuating?
And drinks, including one that I'm sure the Irish invented for us Americans, the Baby Guinness shot. It contains neither Guinness nor babies, but instead coffee liqueur and Irish cream.
This bosom belongs to the famed Molly Malone and is a popular visiting place for handsy tourists in need of offensive selfies. We did not contribute to this stereotype. Other stereotypes, however...
Driving in Ireland comes with its challenges, not the least of which being that they drive on the other side of the road. But after a terrifying adjustment period, Yuri did great. We're just sitting down to have lunch at the Nook in Giant's Causeway, which is one of these. Oh, and here's our lunch. It's being delivered. Yum, I'm so excited. It's famous for its basalt or basalt columns, which is this amazing geological formation here in the northern of Ireland. And if you want a fun story, there is a tale of an actual giant who created it. So we're gonna eat lunch and then we're gonna go out and check it out.
Pastry. Love it. Stand, please.
Hey, who's stealing my peas?
As we approached the world-famous Giant's Causeway, or known by many Irish as the 8th wonder of the world, we were treated to a view of a humped formation called, unsurprisingly, the Camel's Hump, or the Camel.
Finally, we had arrived! Past the Camel's Hump, we began to see the unmistakable hexagonal stone columns that this area is famous for. These basalt geological formations were the result of lava cooling 50 to 60 million years ago as it flowed into the sea.
Or you could go with the many colorful tales of the giant Finn McCool, who, with the help of his clever wife, outwitted the giant Benandonner from Scotland, who then destroyed the Giant's Causeway that stretched between Ireland and Scotland upon fleeing home. In fact, this formation is called the Chimney Stacks and is a reference to the chimney of Finn's house.
Squish, squish, squish. This is the best thing ever.
As we roamed the columns, we couldn't stop filming or taking pictures. But much like The Matrix, no one can tell you what Giant's Causeway is. You have to see it for yourself. In the meantime, enjoy it as best you can through our eyes.
And no trip to Giant's Causeway is complete without some time in the wishing chair. The wriggling is part of the magic. But it was time to say goodbye to Finn McCool and continue our journey.
And now we know what Yuri wished for in the wishing chair. Just south of Giant's Causeway is the famous Bushmills Irish whiskey distillery. So of course we had to get a look at how it's made.
Get this pot still behind here, at least probably an old pot still they don't use anymore. I can feel it in my eyes. It's a little smoother than the regular Bushmills.
With the worldwide success of Game of Thrones, it's only natural that Northern Ireland, a popular shooting location for the show, would become a different kind of tourist destination. This is known as the Dark Hedges, and its increased popularity has led to a recent banning of cars on this stretch of road. Glad we made it there before that happened. You know nothing, Jon Snow.
As we are wont to do, we stopped at every roadside ruin we came across and were treated to glorious glimpses of history. In this case, an old abbey complete with beautiful cemetery.
This is what's known as a step stile, a way for human pedestrians to easily bypass a wall, while livestock and other animal pedestrians couldn't pass through. I don't know, if I'm smart enough to do it, I don't see why a clever cow couldn't.
As we wound our way further south along the coast, we passed through countless beautiful coastal towns that made us want to ditch our car and stay there forever. The views were astonishing, and the ice cream wasn't too shabby either. Irish cows, man. It was so windy that we've got no audio for this, but hopefully you can tell without even reading my lips that this ice cream was yummy.
Now, as we were in Ireland, we couldn't pass up the opportunity to stay at a hotel that was once a real castle.
Welcome to Ballygally Castle. The music, it begins. This is a real castle, or was a real castle, and we're staying in it tonight. And they've got a thing that we haven't gone up into yet called the Ghost Room. There may or may not be ghosts. Will you join me on a supernatural expedition?
If you dare, I ain't afraid no ghost.
scary.
Was it really?
It was a little scary.
Is it better if I started in the dark?
Our repeated efforts to coax a ghost out were met unchallenged. We think. Hopefully they were not offended by our reenactments.
The next morning, we continued our trip down the coast, where we decided to take a slight detour to run around the grounds of Carrickfergus Castle. The castle was unimpressed with our antics.
Our last stop in Northern Ireland was, in fact, its capital, Belfast. A quiet city, at least the day we were there. Belfast is chock full of stately old buildings and history, not to mention claiming the shipyard where the ill-fated Titanic was built. A perfect place to sit and enjoy afternoon tea. And so we did, in the sumptuous Merchant Hotel.
But as delicious as the scones were, we had to leave Belfast and continue south to where we'd be spending the night, a beautiful Edwardian B&B called Innisfree House.
As you can see from the room, it was like traveling back in time.
You know, back when giant spiders ruled the land. Yikes! Not even sure this is a spider. I'm sure this guy just wanted to get cozy, but no thank you.
The next stop on our adventure was one we had been dying to get to, Bruneboyne, which is apropos because the mounds at Noath and Newgrange are some of the most famed Neolithic burial sites in the world. Of particular note are the carved megaliths, or giant stones, surrounding the burial mounds.
And hey, you know us. We originally found out about this place from watching Ancient Aliens. Thanks, Giorgio! So I was eager to see the intricately designed interiors that also served as astronomical alignments, with the passage you're currently seeing here at Noath aligned to the spring and autumn equinox, while Newgrange is oriented towards the winter solstice solar alignment.
And here is a peaceful field that also covers and protects the expertly built stonework that forms the structure that surrounds a cruciform burial chamber with a diameter of 100 meters. It has survived thousands of years and predates even the pyramids in Egypt, which says something about the architecture of the day, not to mention science and astronomy.
This spiral pattern comes up a lot on the stones at this site and at others, and archaeologists are still at odds as to whether it has a specific meaning or is just decorative. Some are simple spirals, but you'll often see a triskele, sometimes referred to as a triskelion, or triple spiral. Triskele comes from the Latin 3 legs, and is said to represent many things, from energy to motion to family and more. Let's be honest, the Trinity has been a powerful symbol throughout the world. It shows up a lot in Celtic jewelry and, as you know, tattoos.
Even from a distance, Newgrange is a true marvel to behold. Oh, and fairy rings! I thought these were particularly fun, and we made a game of looking for them every time we crossed a field. And while there may be a perfectly good scientific explanation, I prefer fairies.
And fairies lead us to the Hill of Tara, a place we could, for obvious reasons, hardly skip on our journey. We entered the hill through a beautiful little church and found ourselves on an expansive hill that was, once upon a time, the seat of Irish kings.
So we are on the Hill of Tara right now in Ireland, and the Hill of Tara is amazing because it's the seat of kings, the Irish seat of kings. It's a legendary location, both for ritual and for sort of the royal people to take their kingship. And it's beautiful. You can see in every direction. It's one of the highest points. You can see many of the mountains and the various areas, and it's absolutely beautiful. And if you touch this stone, which is said to cry out when a king comes by, you are the rightful king of Ireland. Here's a recreation of touching the stone.
Hey, you're the king!
I'm the king! What? There also is this magical little thing called a fairy tree, and it's just south of the hill. I think that's the south. I'm actually a little turned around. And in the fairy tree, people are supposed to leave wishes.
The tradition is to tie a rag in the tree to symbolize a wish you want granted. It's why it's also sometimes called a rag tree. Suffice to say, we tied one on. I mean, we tied rags on the tree. Yuri will no doubt tie one on later down at the pub.
On from the Hill of Tara, we journeyed to Trim Castle, which was featured in the film Braveheart. It's also the largest Norman castle in Ireland.
What do you think?
It's creepy.
Wait. Yeah, go.
Spiral stairs are also known as trip and tumble, trip and stumble, trip steps. Take your pick, it all means the same thing. They're a wee bit tricky, they're a wee bit trippy in places as well, so please watch your step.
We crossed the bridge leading out of Trim and didn't have to travel far before finding another cool ruined abbey to explore. We'd tell you which abbey this was, but that's how many cool places there are to discover in Ireland. We couldn't keep track of them all. But seriously, this is Bective Abbey in Meath. As we wander through the ruins together, try to imagine what it must have looked like when it was brand new.
And this is what it looks like when a ruined castle is made brand new again. Clontarf Castle, now the sumptuous Clontarf Castle Hotel, is in Dublin, and it's where we spent Christmas. This guy stood guard in the lobby and made me think of every episode of Scooby-Doo.
There wasn't much in the way of castle grounds we could stroll in, but they did have a quiet old cemetery right behind it.
And for our last stop in Ireland, we chose the lovely Kilkenny. And you can see Kilkenny Castle here. Little did we know that we were about to be treated to a rare view of Ireland's own mythological leprechaun.
And if you think Canadians are polite, check out this interaction.
And because we skimped this time on showing you our delicious meals, let's end on one. Thanks again for joining us on our trip to Ireland, and we hope to see you next season on Up, Up, and Away.